In the lively town of Sunderland, where cobblestone streets bustled with activity and neighbors greeted each other warmly, lived a girl named Sally Wiggins. She was known far and wide as the silliest girl in town. With her messy red curls, mismatched socks, and a mischievous grin, Sally was always up to something cheeky. Every morning, Sally would hop out of bed, grab her favorite striped hat, and dash into the town square, ready to stir up some fun. One sunny Tuesday, she decided to play her favorite game, sneaking up on people. Sally had a habit of sneaking up on people and yelling, "Boo!" at the top of her lungs. One sunny afternoon, she hid behind Mr. Hargrove's fruit cart. Just as he was arranging shiny apples, she jumped out and hollered, making him toss a whole basket of oranges into the air like confetti. Sally was terribly curious. She would press her ear against doors and windows, hoping to hear juicy gossip. One day, she leaned a bit too far into Mrs. Maple's flower shop window. Crash! She tumbled headfirst into a bed of marigolds. She tiptoed behind Mrs. Butterworth, the baker, who was arranging her fresh loaves. "Boo!" Sally yelled. Mrs. Butterworth jumped, knocking her tray of croissants into the air. The town bird swooped down for an unexpected breakfast, leaving Mrs. Butterworth shaking her head. "Sally!" she exclaimed, "you've got to stop this nonsense." But Sally only giggled and darted away, ready for her next adventure. Later that day, Sally spotted Mr. Grumble, the town librarian, leaning out his window. She hid behind a bush and began making funny noises. Moo! Bah! Oink! Mr. Grumble peered around in confusion, muttering about the town's phantom farm. Then came her most daring mischief. Sally crept into the mayor's office during a council meeting. She squeezed under the table, listening to the adults' serious conversations about fixing the town clock. When no one was looking, she popped her head out and whispered, "What about adding a singing rooster?" The startled mayor spilled his tea, and the room erupted in chaos. Sally's antics were always harmless fun, until one rainy afternoon. She saw old Mrs. Pritchard, the florist, struggling to carry her bouquets to her shop. Sally thought it would be hilarious to hide behind the stall and tie the bouquets together with invisible string. When Mrs. Pritchard went to sell a bunch of daisies, all the flowers came tumbling down. The poor woman was so upset, tears welled in her eyes. Sally's laughter faded. She hadn't meant to hurt anyone. As she quietly slipped away, she felt a pang of guilt for the first time. That night, Sally lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. "Maybe my silliness isn't as funny as I thought," she whispered to herself. The next morning, she decided to make things right. Sally apologized to Mrs. Pritchard and spent the day helping her arrange her flowers. She baked croissants with Mrs. Butterworth and tidied the library for Mr. Grumble, all the while sharing her jokes and stories. To her surprise, the townsfolk loved her new way of being silly, funny without causing trouble. They laughed at her puns, marveled at her goofy dances, and joined her in harmless pranks, like planting a rubber duck in the town fountain. Soon, Sally became the heart of Sunderland. She used her humor to bring joy rather than mayhem. She organized Silly Sundays, where the whole town dressed in mismatched clothes and played games. Even the mayor joined in, clucking like a rooster as he fixed the town clock. Silliness is a wonderful gift when it spreads joy, not harm. Be mindful of how your actions affect others, and use your talents to lift people up, not tear them down. Having fun is wonderful, but it's important to consider how your actions affect others. Laughter is best when shared, not when it comes at someone else's expense. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more magical stories. We'd love to hear your favorite part in the comments below.